recording?
Starting up now.
Okay, just let me know.
You're good to go.
Yes, hi, good evening. I call this Board of Selectmen meeting to order. Would everybody join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Welcome, everybody. It's called order. Presentations, we don't have any presentations. Our next monthly agenda item is announcements, a coronavirus update, and I'll give that. Generally, we're having difficulty in getting the details from the state on exactly how they're going to do this. The current plan, and it's just the current plan, we have nothing in writing, says that they will be distributing vaccine to towns, and towns will be responsible for vaccinating people. They have started to prioritize people. They've already done the 1A group, and that's frontline healthcare workers, first responders, police, EMS, fire, and anyone who lives in congregate settings where the healthcare workers are, long-term care facilities. But that's all they've decided on. We do not know, and to do this, we've had to buy refrigeration equipment, with sensing equipment, with Wi-Fi that sends the temperature and tracks the temperature of the freezers and refrigerators that we bought. We had to redo the electric so that the plugged-in refrigerators cannot be unplugged. They're actually locked onto the wall. We have those, they're in place. We're hoping to be able to order the vaccine by Wednesday. Maybe we'll get it in Wednesday, maybe this week. We don't know how many doses we're going to get, and we would be offering that again first to the 1A group. From that point on, we don't have direction from the state as to who exactly. They've kind of talked about who's going to be in 1B and 1C, but we don't have formal notification of who's going to be in those groups. And I guess the state is just going back and forth and trying to figure out who should be in those groups. I think my personal opinion is, I think it's more important that we start to vaccinate people, pick the groups, let's move forward, right? It shouldn't be that hard. But then again, we don't know how much of the vaccine we're going to get. So we're still asking people to go on the town website. There's a tab that says coronavirus. You can go in there. The very first item on there is if you're over 65 or have a comorbidity that would make you eligible for an earlier vaccination, please fill that form out. It is HIPAA protected. It's only going to our Director of Public Health and his assistant and his team. I say that we have a person we've hired, Maureen Farrell, is doing an excellent job. She's managing the actual rollout of this in conjunction with our Director of Public Health. Our current plan, given what the state's told us so far, and I have to remind people this can change, is that if and when we get vaccine, if and when we know who is in the various groups, we will send that message out. We will set up times and places to actually get the vaccine. People will make appointments, and you will most probably make an appointment. We will tell you to go on the federal government site called VAMS, V-A-M-S. But we would need to know your name and email address and your condition, your age, all the information on the form. And then that system will send you an email telling you you can sign up for a vaccination and giving you a list of locations that you can get vaccinated at. Right now, that's only Danbury Hospital and one other place because they only have the high freeze and minus 94 degrees Fahrenheit vaccine, which only big medical facilities have that kind of refrigeration equipment. This is going to change. It's going to evolve. And as soon as we know something, we will get it out to all the residents. So we ask everybody, bear with us, stay safe, continue. Now, this is important. even after you get the vaccination, you must continue to wear masks, you must continue to socially distance, and you must continue to try to stay away from everybody as much as you can. These vaccines have 2 shots, anywhere between 21 and 28 days apart. But that doesn't mean that you still can't get it. And we don't know the efficacy from this standpoint of the vaccination. Because it's so new, we think it would be permanent. We think it will protect you for as long as you live, but we don't know that for a fact. It's been such a short time that we haven't seen anyone yet get the COVID-19 bug after they've been vaccinated, but we don't have a lot of history to test it on. So we think it'll work. It's 90 to 95% effective, all these various vaccines. We think it's the fix, but people should still remain safe. And I think everyone should understand that this will probably be a months-long process. All that we're hearing right now is that this could go into the summer, getting people vaccinated. And we're going to give everybody as much information as we can, as soon as we can, but we don't have a lot of the hard data yet for people to get the information. So you got to bear with us. We're waiting for the state and the feds to move forward.
Steve,
So,
I have a couple of quick questions.
sure.
So the site, the federal site is VEM, V-E-M, did you say?
No, VAMS.
VAMS. And they are not to go on that yet, correct? Or
They won't let you on.
okay,
You have to get an invite to go on and put your data in.
right.
And then it will give you, it'll give you an email. This is how I'm told it works.
Right.
Then send you an email. Okay, you can now sign up for the vaccination and sign on this site. Then it'll show you the locations you can get it, and you can make an appointment like you're going to the doctor.
Then secondly, did you, you said the old people who are over 65, the seniors, they're not in that 1A group, correct?
No.
Those are for the, okay, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, and they're going to
First
break that
responders?
out. They're starting with over 75, and I think that will be in the 1B group.
Okay.
And then
Okay,
they'll
Steve-
work their way down.
Yeah, 1A, at this point, you're thinking 1A would be our first responders.
Yep, police,
Okay.
first responders, EMS, fire, our nurses at the schools, right? They're in there. It's a very small group.
right. And Steve, the other, what are we estimating the initial cost for the equipment that we've had to buy and the vaccine? Do we have it?
We're not being charged for the vaccine. We spent about $5,500 on the equipment,
Okay,
but we got a grant for that. Marshall got a grant of $7,500 to do that. Is that right?
We have $7,400 for vaccine, and then we had $2,000 of a $24,000 grant that we were going to use for the equipment. We got that first. And if the $7,400 covers it, we'd like to do a budget adjustment with the state to change that for more time for contract tracers and organization of all of this stuff.
Right. So what we think we're going to do, I've talked to John Burrell, the schools are with us, is that we will, like in 2009 when we did the H1N1 vaccination, we vaccinated 6,000 people and we used the Wisconsin gym.
right,
So our current plan is maybe use the high school gym, use the Wisconsin gym. When we are set up, you cannot just show up. If you just show up, you're not going to get a vaccination. You have to have an appointment. You need to bring ID. You need to prove who you are, obviously. It's like, just like voting, right? And that's how we'll do it. As soon as we have the information, we'll get it out. It's a
Good.
little frustrating. And you can see from the news reports, they expected to vaccinate 20 million people by the end of December. They actually vaccinated something less than 3 million, is what I've heard. So this will ramp up. And once it ramps up, it'll ramp up pretty quickly, I think, once they get all the kinks out of the system. And so I think one of the reasons they're not being real clear on who's going to be in which group is they don't know when they're going to get the vaccine. And remember, the vaccine is going directly to the state, and then the state is distributing it to the various towns and hospitals. So it's an interesting system. We'll work our way through it. I would ask people, do not try to get on the VAM system, right, until you're told you can. I don't believe it will let you on, and it'll just cause, you will have millions of people trying to get on that system. And until you are able through the town to get listed on the system, we recommend that no one do anything. Don't try to get on the system. We don't want to
It
screw
would
it
be
up.
like the testing. It started off very slowly and then all of a sudden you're
Right.
able to get it. And
Yep, that's exact. Very good point, Sue. Any other questions, concerns?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. And we'll keep, sending out code reds on this to keep everybody up to date. Okay.
And Steve, how they can get onto the Code Red system?
You just go on the town website, in the bottom of the main page, it says Code Red. You click on it. You can put your cell phone number on it. You can put your home phone number on it, an email address. It will send you text. It will send you emails. It will send you a voicemail if you want. So it can communicate in a number of ways. And we suggest that everyone sign up for that. We're not going to inundate you with messages. We've been sending out sometimes one a week. We didn't do it for the last 2 weeks because we usually send them out on Fridays, and I don't think anybody wants this kind of information on a holiday, Christmas or New Year's. And there haven't been a lot of changes in the rate of positivity. Actually, it's gone down a little bit last week. This week will be a telling item. We'll send a code red out on Friday and list all the cases in town, all of those sorts of things. We just don't want to overwhelm people where they go, oh my God, that thing again, and not pay attention to it. We want to use it to put out information that's very clear, succinct, and that people can actually use. But we do recommend that people, about 2,000 people in town have signed up so far. We'd like to see every resident sign up because on Code Red, we're going to use it in the future. We haven't done it yet. It's a very good system. It's a very powerful system. So let's say, for example, they're going to repave Mist Hill Drive. We can actually geofence a half a mile around Mist Hill Drive just on a map and only send messages to those residents. Hey, be aware that Mist Hill Drive is going to be paved next week. It might be blocked, right? That sort of thing. So it's a really good system, and we're going to be rolling that out. We wanted to wait until we're at the point we can really get the code red just for the emergencies finished. So I'm thinking probably July. It takes quite a bit of work to set up what kinds of messages we're going to send out. Because again, we don't want to inundate people. You know how you get those emails trying to sell you thing, and you get 3 emails a day and you end up not looking at it. You go, oh my God, it's flyaway sales. I don't want to talk to them anymore. And you end up putting it in your clutter box and never looking at it. So we have to be pretty careful about that. So next item, if there are no more issues or concerns on that, we will have coffee with the community Monday, January 25th at 5:30. Residents are welcome to join the meeting on YouTube and viewing, and we will put out all the information. It'll be available on the town website. And it's an informal, for those who don't know, it's informal, and you can call, ask questions back and forth with the Board of Selectmen on any issues that you have. Next thing, we have no correspondence, and then we move to monthly financial update. Marcia, would you like to give us your update, please?
Yes, that I'm going to share my screen, and I apologize that I did not get this to you earlier, but you are actually meeting on the very first day after the month end. So I have 3 transfers that I would like you to look at and consider. And because you didn't get it in advance or more than an hour in advance, I want to just go through them with a little more detail. I tried to make it as big as I can here. The first one is related to COVID. We've been making budget transfers every month, and we've been trying to do it in looking ahead 90 days. So these are transfers from here to March 31st. Hopefully this is our last quarter, but we just don't know. So if we look at this column, that we get to our first one is that IT, that Dan is quite the trooper in showing up to all these meetings, but he also has a team that he's developing to handle monitoring these meetings from the Zoom point of view. And his budget right now is about half expended. That's a lot higher than normal just because someone has to be at all the Zoom meetings where they don't have to be at the in-person meetings. So we're looking for 3,000 to be added to that line item. We have the town clerk just trying to close out her wages, that she had people coming in and we guessed on the amount of wages, but we need a little bit more there. We're going to have some savings, we think, because some of the legal notices, the requirements have dropped during COVID. We're going to have some savings because the state kind of scared the town clerks, and you need this, 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 and this. And, 80% are going to vote by mail, but that wasn't the case. So we had quite a bit of savings on that we want to just reclaim. So far, a lot of this, so we're taking money back. We think we'll save more money on land use for the next quarter for legal notices. We asked each of the departments, could we take some travel and conferences, and most of them, a lot of them are switching their organizations that they're members of or that they're required to take training is moving remotely, but land use, we're taking some with their permission there. That we need more money for Social Security, that we have a lot of these extra wages for the front door monitor, for the cleaning, for docs overtime, for the contact tracer. I'm not going to, it doesn't look right now like I'm going to be able to fit the Social Security in the budget we had. So that's an addition. We need more money at the police, that they've got additional cleaning going on, wipe downs of surfaces. That's one quarter of time. The fire department needed some money for medical supplies and N95 masks, which shows up there. This is $27,000. It's Doc's overtime that, and because he's an hourly employee, it's his overtime, and it's 2 quarters. I didn't think about that in the last budget. So it covers up to December 31st. And then the first quarter, about 8,000 of it is cleaning, for the extra cleaning, the wipe down of the surfaces in town hall and other locations. And about 8,000 of it is the front door monitor. And that should take us through March 31st. Homeland Defense, that this is the vaccine that the vaccine grant that we just talked about, that we need permission to spend it. That's the $7,400 for equipment. Going down, the senior center, again, they've got someone that's, I put it under the senior center originally, but I understand it's mostly social services for people coming in and out to try and, be a gatekeeper at the door to wipe down surfaces. They are not going to do some of their classes and trips, obviously, so there should be a savings there. But again, that's offset by no revenue from that. Some travel and conferences from them. And the net amount of all that is money going back into the contingency fund. So with this one, if you approve it, we would be just reshuffling some of the money and then putting $8,000 back into the contingency fund. So that is one transfer I'm going to ask you about. The second one, let me just get my colors onto the right column here. The second one are just small transfers that need to be within departments. The first one is my department. We have a long-term illness, and we had seasonal help helping us get through that. The assessor's department, she's had 100% turnover of her staff, and so that there's been lots and lots of turnover. That includes interim, and she also had a long-term leave. So that includes interim people to cover the long-term leave. But all that is within her department. The savings is coming from some software that when we went to the reval program, it was thrown in as part of their package. So we didn't have to pay for it separately. Personnel that we're working on implementing Kronos, the time and attendance program. And what we found is we have a lot of cleanup to do in the HR department for the HR setup of wages. So we've put some money in there for overtime. It's coming out of the Christmas party that we didn't have, holiday party. IT, Dan has gone through now that he's in charge, and he's done a nice job of looking at the budget and making some adjustments there. The land use is just, and we're not going to do it this way next year, but they've always budgeted half and half for sporadic, but yet we pay them all out of here. So we're just moving that up there, and this will be the last time we do that, I hope. Volunteer firefighters, we did have some savings, but we've gotten a number of new firefighters. So that savings from the once a year award is going to move down to the monthly pension, LOSAP, we call it. Highway department, they have some savings with an open position with tree warden, and we know that their overtime is under, so we've moved it there. In grounds, they had a long-term leave, and they covered it with sporadic, so we're asking for that money to move. And we also moved the cemetery maintenance into their line last year, but the maintenance is really made up of wages, so we're just doing a budget transfer there. So those all balance out to zero. Those are all internal transfers that only the selectmen have to approve. And then we have some transfers between departments, and I'm going to look at it down here instead, just so we can talk a little bit more about it. The tax server, we moved to the cloud. The tax collector's computer server is now online, and it does cost us more money, but Damin felt as though it's one of the reasons why we won't need to replace her quite as with the same level of person. So
well, wasn't this also they weren't going to be supporting the server-based system fully in the future?
I know that there's one for that, and I can't remember if it was tax collector or assessor.
It's one of them, right?
But I don't remember which one, to be honest.
I don't either.
But we did some inter-fund transfers between assessor, town clerk, and IT. They all moved money to try to cover that additional cost for this year. So the net is to the bottom line is zero. But it's still a transfer between departments. Oh, we've had so many employee changes, so many. We've got a military leave, we've got long-term illness, we've got long-term FMLA, we've got retirements. So the additional costs, there are additional costs because sometimes very rarely was it two people at the same time, but there is a little bit of training that goes on with someone from the old department training the new person. But most of the additional costs are vacation payouts. So we have additional costs for changes of 24,000, but we've got savings of 78,000. So that gives us a net of 54,000. If you were to look up in the details, you'll see they all have a little B next to them in this column. But those are all employee type changes. The town clerk, this was an error that I made in the budget. Last year, she had sent us in a next priority form and you approved it, and I forgot to put it in the budget. And that was so that what they were doing was sharing licenses for their computer program. So when a title searcher came in, someone on her staff had to get out because they didn't have enough licenses. So we're adding that.
That makes the department much more efficient. With all the sales that have been going on in Brookfield over the last 6 months, we can't have staff sitting there waiting for a title searcher.
Sure.
That's just
Much more
the way-
effective. Sure.
Yeah, much more effective.
And as it turned out, it's been much better for COVID to work remotely. We did discuss putting it as a COVID expense, but since we're doing it year over year, we hope to do it year after year. We thought it was more appropriate to just fess up that I screwed up on that one. This one is the reval contract. As I said, there are some costs that are included that they threw into the contract. Some of those we use to cover her shortage, her extra hours that she needs for all her staff changes, and the rest of it we're contributing to the cause down here. We've got health insurance that we have people that take money in lieu of health insurance, and that saves us money. But we have 5 less people that have opted out of the health insurance. So that means they are on our health insurance. So that costs us money. So that's an increase in health insurance of 48,000. At the time we did our budget, that we were still not done with the police contract and some sick time issues there, and we were considering short-term disability. We didn't do that, so we should have some savings to offset that. So we need more money for health insurance. Blight just is, got 3 lines in their budget, and so they couldn't make an interdepartment transfer. They need a little more money for potential additional liens for the blight for legal fees. Police, that again, when we did the budget, we were midstream on their union contract. We knew what the wage increase was. But after that, they have additional overtime and additional stipends that total $7,200. We have money set up in contingency for that, but because we've got some other savings, we were not taking as much out of contingency. Public Works, we hadn't started the Public Works budget. So we've got additional salaries in there that we expected. We had it in contingency, but now we're just reclassifying it and putting it into Public Works. Candlewood Lake Road, there's some additional costs in the health department there. And then these 2, we were planning on taking out of contingency. They would have added up to 32,000. But because we've got some other short things here that are extra money, we're asking just to take 6,500 out of contingency so we can preserve that as much as possible. So those are the 3 transfers. That the one that has the net to the COVID contingency that adds back for 8,000, the one that's just within the department that has no effect on contingency, and then the one that is between departments, which has a net of 6,500 coming out of contingency. Okay. Any questions on any of that?
Not from me.
No, I think you explained it quite well. Thank you, Marcia.
Yeah. So I would make a motion that we transfer the $6,534.41 as outlined in this spreadsheet. The transfers in, the transfers out, both those approvals by the Board of Selectmen, and to forward to the Board of Finance those that need their approval. And we'll use this entire spreadsheet with them also so they understand what we're doing. I think it is better to, and I agree with Marcia, to try to protect our contingency because we don't know what might come up. But we're in, as you can see, we're in pretty good shape, and all of the team members have been very careful about spending money and doing things that save the town money. And so I think this is the right thing to do. Do I have a second for that motion? I mean, are you
I'll
guys
second.
comfortable doing it tonight? We could always wait till next month.
Can we wait till next month? Only because, I mean, we
Yes, we can
hadn't
just do
been
it one
presented
month.
before right now, but
These are not to the level where we would have any problems or issues. If you want to wait, we can.
Harry, your thought?
I agree with you. So if we can wait, it'd be nice to be able to
Okay.
just,
So I will withdraw my motion and make a motion that we take this up at our next Board of Selectmen meeting.
Great, thank you.
thank you.
Do I have a second?
I'll second
I'll
it.
second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we're going to delay it. And now
Steve,
let's talk about the
this is just-
COVID-19 budget.
This is just a summary of the COVID-19. And again, we were pressing for time tonight, so we only have the summary. We just talked about it there, that every month we've taken money out. We started with $500,000.
Marcia,
every
can you
month-
make this a little bigger?
I can.
My eyesight's not what it used to be.
I was judging by how close Sue was to the screen.
My eyesight's not the same either.
All
And
right.
Marcia,
Plus
just
people
with,
watching.
yeah, Marcia, with all your reports that you have presented tonight, could you send them to us,
Yes.
please? Thank you.
Yes. So with the COVID budget, just to where we stand, we had a contingency in the expenditures of $500,000 that, and we've used a little bit every month as we've gone along. And this month we're putting a little bit back in. So in total, once that's approved, we would have been authorized to spend $114,000 in different buckets, which leaves us a contingency of $385,000 left. But remember, that is for us and for the Board of Education. So we've got, last time we heard they were about 200,000 short, so that would have to come out of here too. That with respect to revenue, that we had 198,000 in the budget for revenue. We didn't exactly know where it was coming from. From the state, we received $204,000. That was a CRF funding. It came through June 30th of 2020. Although it was for last year, it wasn't definite enough in time for the audit for us to put it in last year's revenue. So it shows up in this year. We received last week another 123,000 in revenue from the state under the same program. So all that money of that program is done. The elections, we've received about 11,000 in money from elections. That the Department of Health, this is 26,000. That's what we're paying the contact tracer and the vaccine coordinator, same person, out of. And then there was some money they gave us last year, and we had just the tail end of it that we received this year. We have been approved for FEMA money through September 30th for $5,700. We haven't received it yet. The vaccination grant, we have the paperwork for that. We haven't received it yet. And I'm still holding out hope that we're going to get $900 for the registrar shields. So possibly we would be over budget by $182,000 with just those things, having revenue over what we had budgeted. And then in December, there was a funding package that was signed by the president, I think on the 22nd. And that does not have any money for us. There are some money for the schools. We haven't heard yet how that's going to be allocated other than population and income. But we don't know how much Connecticut's getting or how much we're getting. There is some money, that I don't think I meant to write elections, rental assistance that we might get some money for in there. And I forgot the third category, but I don't believe it's elections. I know that you got an email from one of the Board of Finance members about that there might be money for HVAC. That's in the same bucket of money as everything else. So that that 200,000 they're short. If we get 500,000, then maybe we add additional costs to it. But for right now, I don't think we're going to cover the costs that we already have. Any questions on COVID? Good. Other than that, oh, sorry.
Marcia, you mentioned that the school had about 200,000. When will we see a figure from them?
So every month they've been giving a figure, and that was their latest figure from November.
Mm-hmm.
That so you should see they don't give a report to the Board of Selectmen, they give a report to the Board of Finance. And I think at their, if memory serves me, at the December meeting, when they gave that report, they were 204,000, projecting to be 204,000 over budget.
Right.
And then the last
And
thing,
manageable, right?
Yep.
So that, but
most
you'll
volatility-
plug that in after the July and the November figure. So
Yeah.
on your spreadsheet there.
so I haven't put it into this spreadsheet yet because they haven't asked for it as a transfer yet.
Okay.
That I just want to keep bringing it up so we don't spend it. That
Right, because their number is changing monthly. It's
Mhm.
up, it's down, it's up, it's down. But we do want everybody to be aware, it is sitting out there. It's probably going to be somewhere around $200,000 unless there's a massive change. So we need to take that into consideration when we're looking at our contingency and other spending.
Okay.
And then the last thing is our June 30th, 2020 financial statements are on the website. They were put up there on December 31st on the town's website. This is the first time in 12 years that our financial statements have been on time.
Good job.
Which is quite an accomplishment. I'd also like to say there are absolutely no findings whatsoever in the report, either on the town side or the school side. And that's quite an accomplishment too.
Mhm. Excellent. Thank you.
So everybody has worked really hard to make sure that our controls are in place, our policies and procedures are being followed, and our auditors found no problems with our financial statements, our controls, and the enactment of our policies and procedures. That's a big plus, and a lot of that credit goes to Marcia, and of course to Greg Dembowski, because he always provides really good reports for Marcia.
That is exactly what I was thinking. However, that sometime if we do have findings, it doesn't mean that we're not working as hard.
No, that's why you have auditors. You can make mistakes or have a policy or procedure that isn't quite followed the way you wrote it or you intended it. And that's why the auditors are there to say, hey, did you know that this was happening? And you say, nope, okay, put the controls back in place and make sure. It's not to say it wouldn't happen in the future, but it is the cleanest financial report I've ever seen. And I've read a lot of them, and that's good. And that also helps with the rating agencies and things like that. They love to see that. They love to see you file on time. Right?
And the auditors did say that management, if you only read part of it, read the first part that's called management's discussion and analysis. They thought that we went above and beyond there, but I think that, you know, we followed all best practices for this year's budget in a bad time by cutting expenses, being conservative on revenue, doing the iterative budget. All that is best practice. And we wanted to highlight that we didn't call it best practice. We knew what we knew it was. We just wanted to highlight that so that if that's all that you read or the user reads or the bonding agency reads, it's written, spelled right out for them that this is what we've done.
Yep. So thank you, Marcia. Really appreciate it. Any
And
other
Greg.
questions or issues for Marcia?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Steve, if I could though, on our announcements, you skipped over the second bullet in our announcements.
No,
Town's
coffee with the
budget.
community?
Town
No,
budget.
town budget.
Oh, this thing is so small. I did. We're starting the town budget process. We already started it in December. And the town departments and agencies will be submitting their budget requests. Marcia and I have already met with each department. We've given them the outline of what we're looking for in their budgets, which is a 0% increase in their operating budget. And we will be following, obviously, our union contracts for raises. We're trying to come in. We're going to have some expenses that we don't have a choice are going to increase. For example, the police are going to go to body cameras. That's mandated by the new police accountability rule. We had already been working on it, so we'll be ahead of most of the other towns in actually implementing it. But that's going to mean a cost of around $25,000 a year that we hadn't anticipated. So that will be added into next year's budget. But we're only going to add in things like that where we have clear reasons for increasing an operating budget. While we're still operating through this pandemic, I think all of us agree we really would like to have a referendum, but if we have to have the same process as last year, where the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance approve it without a referendum, we want to have these budgets as lean as possible, while still being able to do the work that we have to do for the town. Do you guys agree?
In these uncertain times, yeah.
Yeah. Harry, you wanted to say something?
No, I would anticipate that we would be able to have a referendum in some form or another. I'm thinking that we are going to be able to.
I agree.
And I just wanted to stress, I know not too many people are watching right now, especially other committee and board members, but they have got to be as creative as possible and reallocate as much as they possibly can with the money they have. As bad a situation as we were in last year, we've now had, and I'm not saying, I'm preaching to the choir. I know that we all know, but we have no idea where we're going with this, and people have already had a year of unemployment and losing jobs and whatever. So I feel we would have to be very hard pressed to have any type of a raise in the budget. It's just my feeling. We just have to be creative.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
And I know I know that you. I don't want to speak for the board, but I know that's our goal. I just want to make sure our departments and boards understand this.
Yeah, I think they do. I think Sue agrees too, because we've discussed this before. In these uncertain times, we have to be very, very careful with our residents' money. We just do. We're also facing, if you remember, we did not get any of the bonded capital approved last year because it wasn't allowed. So we're going to be looking at this year. We're going to be set back a whole year, or we try to find a little more money, right, to do some of these projects. And that's going to be the biggest problem we have this year, I think, is the capital, figuring out what to do with that. Because I think we should continue to spend more in cash rather than borrowing. And we just have to be careful. A good offset to that is going to be the increased taxes we're getting from the development in town. We don't know what those numbers are yet, so I don't want to get anybody all excited, but it's going to be more than in previous years, which is also very helpful, right? To keep increases down as low as possible. Okay, so any other concerns, questions, issues on that?
Mm-mm.
And obviously, we'll be talking budgets for the next 3 months.
We have our work cut out for us.
I would like to make a motion to add one item to the agenda, if we could, because I just thought about it. And we are redoing the land use fire marshal building and health and sanitarians offices with the STEEP grant. And I thought we've got Greg on with us now to answer any questions on phase 4, and he is managing that project. So I make a motion, we add that. Can we have a quick discussion now on that and have Greg just give us a quick overview on it? Do I have a second?
Sure, I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, aye. Greg, sorry to put you on the spot, but I just thought of it, and I think this is moving so quickly and working really well. I think it's important for you guys to understand what we're doing, and the town too. Go ahead, Greg.
All right, so thanks. Again, I don't have a formal presentation, but a lot of work's been done in the past 2 or 3 weeks. So I'll just hit a couple highlights. We worked every day, Christmas week and New Year's week, to start the relocation of files and cleaning out of the files. We've reestablished an old room that was used for park and rec storage. It is now a land use dead storage room for files that don't have to be accessed very often or at all. Today we put in a smoke detector. We've added a phone there for those that need to work in that office for a period of time. And we've eliminated 8 or 10 file cabinets already that are sitting empty in room 129, with many more to come. We have been through, I would say, 6 or 7 different layouts of our new office space. The architect we hired is doing a great job for us, even working through the holidays, pretty much every day except Christmas Day and New Year's Day. And Steve has seen our latest recommendation, and we're ready to roll that out to all the employees as soon as he is ready. The one thing Steve has asked for that we're evaluating is the repurposing of what was a land use private meeting room, also a small little mini lunchroom, into a public, another additional conference room. And that's going to require a little more money. How much we don't know yet until our HVAC consultant comes in a couple days. So that may give us another public meeting room, for evening use, for whatever board or commission wants to use that. So it's going very well. It's a lot of change, and there's a lot of people, some are a little more nervous than others about what this means to them. But I am confident we are going to end up on budget, and it's going to be a space is ADA compliant. For example, none of our counters in town hall are ADA compliant right now. So this will be the first office that provides ADA compliance for the public, and a lot of other nice features. So I'll take any questions, but we've been working on this pretty steadily over the past month.
Greg, who is the HVAC consultant?
It's the one that the town uses now for their HVAC work. And I forget their name, but there's 2 companies that the Public Works Office uses to bring in anything when there's HVAC repairs needed.
Okay.
The one thing I didn't know about Town Hall is there is no central air. There is no central ductwork. There's 54 heat pumps in the building, and they're all individual units sitting above the drop ceilings. There you go. Swan is what is, I see Dan's message. So Swan is one of them, and I think that's the company coming in later this week.
Oh, thank you.
Greg,
Go ahead, Sue.
the expense for the new meeting room, what would we need to do that you have an expense on that?
The one
Is it
thing we would have-
furniture? Is it HVAC? What is it?
we would have to repurpose one of the heat pumps in the drop ceiling to have its own thermostat.
Because it will have full walls. Because if it's accessible from outside for people to hold meetings, we don't want people to be able to wander around land use and fire marshal in those offices. So it will be accessible from the hallway and from the land use offices, but we have to put actual walls up. And then if you put walls up, the heating and air conditioning in the open space won't work there. So we
Right.
have to see if we can do that. But it's worth exploring, because God knows we need more meeting spaces.
But
We can
if you're
get us,
putting up walls, are you taking away space from
yes.
land use or whatever's there right
Well,
now?
we
that
will
could
do
use?
The way we are, because remember WPCA moved out.
Yep.
So Doc Sullivan moved in there.
Mhm.
So net from 3 years ago, the space is about the same square footage. But because we're removing so many files and we're moving to fully electronic systems in building and in the fire marshal, we don't need as many files. And files take up a lot of space,
Sure.
a lot of space. So
we have
net,
over,
people are getting more actual space to work in.
we
Does
have
that make
over
sense?
we have over 45 file cabinets
Oh,
in
you're
the
going in
land
and
use
out.
office.
Can you
We're
say
gonna be
that
going
again,
down
Greg? You just went
tremendously.
in and out.
So we have over 45 file cabinets in the land use office. We'll be making a significant reduction.
That gives us more space. And so we're thinking we can build a room that will hold, what, 8 to 10 people, Greg?
Yes,
Post-COVID, wouldn't work with COVID, but. Does that make sense? We'll see. We're gonna see how much it
Yeah,
costs.
I would be interested in see what the expense cost would be, but yeah.
Yeah, we have to see. That's why Greg is doing that research. But now's the time to at least do the research and see what it is, because if we can get an additional meeting room that can also be used by land use during the day, either for their own meetings or for, let's say, a lunch break room, that's a win-win for everybody, I think.
Okay,
And if we can get it in under budget, so much the better.
great.
Great, thanks, Greg.
Thanks.
Harry,
Yep.
any questions, concerns on that?
No, my only comment would be pretty much to Greg. Greg, we are, at some point, we are going to be doing something with, the Huckleberry School. And if I know that there had been talk of TSO going over there. I know that was a thought. And is there any possibility of TSO becoming available, that space up there, Greg, or not really?
That's probably, that's one, yes, we've talked about that. With all these things moving, if we got a new library, could we put TSO in the library? Could we move them to center school? Right now, if you remember, the ad hoc committee suggested that the best uses for center school was a new library
Right.
and possibly Parks and Rec. So we have a lot of moving parts here.
Yeah.
But yeah, at some point in the future, I don't know when, could be 10 years down the line, the town is going to need more space.
Yeah.
It's not immediate right now. I mean, down in land use now, we're bursting at the seams, but it's kind of a rabbit warren down there with all the file cabinets, the drafting tables. It's kind of hodgepodgey. And we're going to individual cubicles for each employee, so they will be able to work at their desks. It'll be much more quiet for them, and it'll be safer if, God forbid, we get another pandemic, that they can work in their offices and have some walls around them that protect them. And I'm hoping that we can do the same thing in all the other offices. I mean, if you go over to the library, their offices are totally inadequate, and they have, I think, 6 people in a space not much bigger than my office. That's just not going to work in the future. It's just not. So we'll have to figure that out too. And it's an iterative process that we're going to go through. We thought land use, given how many people were in there and the size of the grant that we got, that was our biggest win to make the most people safe and in a new work environment at a time. And then next year, I hope to have something to do with the tax assessor, the town clerk. Town clerk is not as urgent. They have much more space, per person in actual square footage. But again, we have to look at those because it's going to be, these offices haven't been redesigned since we built the building. And then I think it was an afterthought, because if you look at every office, everything's set up completely differently. You know, different size office spaces, different wall paneling systems. And so we'll get there. We'll get there bit by bit.
Okay.
That's a good point though. Okay, any other questions? No? Okay, so we'll move on to Streetscape Phase 4. I asked Greg here just to be here in case there were any questions. But if you remember, we need to update our motion. We updated it it's iteratively changed like 3 or 4 times. But what happened was that the Board of Finance had agreed to the 15% or 450,000 as the town share, but in their they did not make an actual motion. They agreed upon it, but when we looked at the minutes, it wasn't, I don't think it was completely there. And what was missing was the total cost of the project. And you have to include that for our bond council. We have to have all this detail because we'll be going to referendum for it. So to make sure it's very, very clear what we intended, I would make the motion that the selectmen approve the bond resolution prepared by bond council and schedule a special town meeting for the approval of a lot SIP grant to match up to, not to exceed 15% or $450,000 total of the cost in the amount of $3.6 million on February 1st, 2021 at 7 p.m. by a virtual meeting. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Harry seconds it.
Okay, and so what you're adding here, Steve, is the 3.6 million was not
Right.
in the last.
Right.
Okay.
It wasn't
Okay.
clear, and we want to make it very, very clear because we don't want bond council to come back to us 3 months from now and say, oh, you didn't do this quite correctly.
Okay.
This is kind of belt and suspenders. Everybody's approved this. Everybody's on board with this, but we just wanted to make it very, very clear
Mhm.
and have it in the minutes because that's what we have to give to the bond council. And it wasn't in the Board of Finance minutes the way it needs to be. Any questions, concerns, issues? Greg is here if you've got any questions on the project itself. I thank him for being here for this. No?
No.
So having heard
Thank you,
that,
Greg. No.
all those in favor say aye.
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 Did we second?
Oh,
Did
didn't I
someone
get a
second it?
second? Oh, can I
I
thought
don't
I
know.
did.
I
thought-
seconded it. I seconded
You
Harry
did
seconded.
second it? Okay. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if you seconded our discussion, but okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in favor.
Again, all in favor, just raise your hand. Aye. Carries 3-0. Consent agenda. Make a motion that the selectmen approve the items in the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
I'll
I'll second.
second it. Oh,
Oh, got 2 seconds. Call it Harry. He got there first. That includes the Board of Selectmen meeting minutes from December 7th, December 21st, December 22nd, and December 23rd. And they're attached to yours. Employee changes. We have 2 new police officers, John Shalcom, who is a police officer, and Travis Colgren. We misspelled it here. It's Gren as a police officer, and he will be starting. We have one of them starting at the police academy today. So that's a good thing, and they'll be with us in July. James Spignola retired from the Public Works Department. There are driveway bonds for 30 Valley View, 44 Merwin Brook, 5 Hillendale, 31 Knollcrest, and 41 Hidden Brook Drive. There is a zoning commission bond release for 77 Vale Road. Do I have any discussion on this? Any concerns, questions? No? Okay, all those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Carries 3-0. There are no appointments, and now we will move to public comment. Does anybody have any comments, questions, or issues they would like to bring before the board? Dan, you'll tell us if anybody raises their hand.
Yep, doesn't look like we have anybody commenting for today.
Okay, John Lucas, do you have any questions or concerns as treasurer of the town?
I do not. Again, I'm very happy that we submitted the audit to the state on time. And I'm also happy that it's up on the website, as Marcia said, and it's available for everybody to read and really get some insight into all the work that we've all been doing throughout the past 12 months. So it's an amazing feat, I think, to have no deficiencies and no findings, and then to finally submit it on time. So it's a great thing.
Really is. Well, you were a big part of that too. So all the work you've done over the last 5 years has really started to pay off for us. Does anybody else like to make a comment, questions, concerns? Okay, going once, going twice. Sold. I guess we don't have any comments. We usually get at least one. So having heard that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Do I have that motion?
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
I will second.
Sue seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
I declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody, and Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Here,
Stay
Susan.
safe.